Hi students, welcome back to another learning video. Our M.A English entrances are just around the corner, and if there is one thing that we all need rigorously at the moment is how we approach our questions. So here is a quick practice session on a few important questions from Delhi University's previous year question paper. Also, we have completely solved DU's 2021 previous year question paper. A lot of important questions from GNU's previous year question papers also. GNU's 2019 complete question paper is also solved. I am providing all the links in the description box given below. For your deep and detailed analysis, you may refer to the attached videos given below. Hope these sessions help you at the given moment. Right, so here is our question number 1 from Delhi University's previous year question paper. 9. Read the passage given below and answer the questions which follow by choosing the most appropriate response with reference to the passage from the given options. She had gone back to Tara, once in fear and defeat, and she had emerged from its sheltering walls strong and armed for victory. What she had done once, somehow please God, she could do again. How, she did not know. She did not want to think of that now. All she wanted was a breathing space in which to hurt, a quiet place to lick her wounds, a haven in which to plan her campaign. She thought of Tara, and it was as if a gentle, cool hand were stealing over her heart. She could see the White House gleaming welcome to her through the reddening autumn leaves, feel the quiet hush of the country twilight coming down over her like a benediction, feel the dews falling on the acres of green bushes tarred with fleecy white, saw the raw color of the red earth and the dismal dark beauty of the pines on the rolling hills. She felt vaguely comforted, strengthened by the picture, and some of her hurt and frantic regret was pushed from the top of her mind. She stood for a moment, remembering small things, the avenue of Doxida leading to Tara, the banks of Cape jasmine bushes, vivid green against the white walls, the fluttering white curtains, and Mammy would be there. Suddenly she wanted Mammy desperately, as she had wanted her when she was a little girl, wanted the broad bosom on which to lay her head, the gnarled black hand on her hair. Mammy, the last link with the old days, with the spirit of her people who would not know defeat, even when it stared them in the face. She raised her chin. She could get Rhett back. She knew she could. There had never been a man she could not get, once she set her mind upon him. I will think of it all tomorrow at Dara. I can stand it then. Tomorrow I will think of some way to get him back. After all, tomorrow is another day. This beautiful passage is from Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. It's a pure love story set during the time of American Civil War. Margaret Mitchell also ended up winning Pulitzer Prize for this epic love saga. Here, in this particular passage that you see, Tara, look at this. She had gone back to Tara. Tara is not a character here. Tara refers to her native place, native home. And when I say her or when I say she here, she or her here refers to the heroine of the novel, that is Scarlett herself. And we see that in this particular passage, she comes back to Tara, her native place, to find solace amid all the turmoils that she had been facing for long. Mammy in this particular passage refers to her childhood nanny. If you look at the last fifth or sixth line, Mammy, the last link with the old days, with the spirit of her people who would not know defeat. So, Mammy here refers to her childhood nanny with whom she grew up. And then the fourth character in this passage is she could get Rhett back. So, Rhett is her lover. Rhett is Scarlett's lover. So we have four important things in this particular passage from the book. Number one, we have Tara, that is her native place. Then we have the heroine, that is Scarlett herself. And then we have Mammy here, who used to be her childhood nanny. And then we have Rhett, who is her lover. Now, if we look at question number 1, it says, why is the person in reference the she? Like I said, the she here is who? She is, of course, Scarlett, the heroine of the novel, feels comforted on reaching her native place. Why? Because Mammy might still inhabit her native place. She doesn't know that. Okay, so she's trying to remember Mammy all the time, but she doesn't know. Two, because she hopes to find comfort by establishing a nostalgic link to the spirit of the people. Look at this line: Mammy, the last link with the old days, with the spirit of her people. So here you have your answer. Option 2 is your correct answer. And we have our next question, that is question number 70. Again, the passage remains the same. The question that follows it is different now. See, who is the author referring to as Mammy in the extract? I already told you Mammy was her childhood maid. Your option 1, that is childhood black maid of the person in reference, is the correct answer. Lost lover, beloved pet, native place, all of them are wrong. Native place is Tara. We do not have any pet here. Lost lover here is red. But then Mammy here is childhood black maid. Look at question number 71. Again, the passage remains the same. The question that follows it is different now. What is the mood of the person she according to the passage? Mood. Let's read the last set of lines. I will think of it all tomorrow at Tara. I can stand it then. Tomorrow I will think of some way to get him back. After all, tomorrow is another day. So you see that she's very happy about it. She is optimistic. She hasn't lost her this thing. So if you look at option 1, she's fundamentally despondent. No, she's not despondent at all. Desolate? No. Optimistic? Yes. She says, tomorrow I will think of some way to get him back. After all, tomorrow is another day. Okay. She is in denial towards a traumatizing bleak future? No. Option 3, that is, she's fundamentally optimistic towards the future, is our correct answer here. Then we look at question number 72. Again, the passage remains the same. The question that follows it now is different. Let's read the question. Based on your understanding of the above passage, which genre would you identify the extract from? Pastoral fiction, Victorian romance, tragic comedy, or modernist literature? See, it is option 1, pastoral fiction. Why? Because you see, the passage involves a lot of proximity with nature and simplicity. If you try reading these lines like welcome to her through the reddening autumn leaves, feel the quiet hush of the country twilight coming down over her like a benediction, okay, or probably these set of lines just after that: see the raw color of the red earth and the dismal dark beauty of the pines and the rolling hills, right? So you see characters connection with nature, characters connection with simplicity, that explains that it is pastoral fiction. Now we look at our next question. It's a passage based question now. Let's read the passage. Let's first of all try to understand what's inside the passage. Read the passage given below and answer the question that follow. Justification for the exclusion is sought, instead, mainly upon questionable racial and ideological grounds, not ordinarily within the realm of expert military judgment, supplemented by certain semi-military conclusions drawn from an unwarranted use of circumstantial evidence. Individuals of Japanese ancestry are condemned because they are said to be, quote unquote, a large, unassimilated, tightly knit racial group bound to an enemy nation by strong ties of race, culture, custom, and religion. They are claimed to be given to, quote unquote, emperor washing ceremonies and to, quote unquote, dual citizenship. Japanese language schools and allegedly pro-Japanese organizations are cited as evidence of possible group disloyalty. Possible group disloyalty, right? Very important for us to realize. Together with facts as to certain persons being educated and residing at length in Japan. The military necessity, which is essential to the validity of evacuation order, thus resolves itself into a few intimations that certain individuals actively aided the enemy actively aided the enemy. Certain individuals, probably they're talking about Japanese people, okay? This is how we're trying to identify what the passage is trying to tell us. From which it is inferred that the entire group of Japanese Americans, they're trying to talk about Japanese Americans, could not be trusted, could not be what? Could not be trusted to remain loyal to the United States. Very important for us to realize, to understand what's happening inside the passage. The author's opinion of the military judgment used to justify the evacuation of Japanese Americans is what? And this is our first question. The author's opinion of the military judgment used to justify the evacuation of Japanese Americans is. Now, here, I'll first of all try to give you the background of what's happening inside this passage. Now, this passage basically comes from a very, very popular trial where we learn that Mr. Justice Black, he delivered the opinion of court. The petitioner was an American citizen of Japanese descent, and he was excluded from living in a military area in the United States. This passage majorly describes a time, okay? It describes a time when America fought World War II. World War II. I am already giving you one answer now. To preserve its democracy, this way, the entire war suppressed the civil liberties of many communities that were living there at that point in time, and one of those were, of course, Japanese Americans. And this is a trial about that. Now, it was also a time when President Roosevelt approved the internment of many American citizens of Japanese ancestry. And this very trial also challenged the idea of freedom the Americans then fought for. Okay. So, here, the first question is the author's opinion of the military judgment, which is used to justify the evacuation of Japanese Americans, is it is not based on evidence. Yes, it is not based on evidence since it's a trial, okay? And then option two is that it is not based on expert knowledge. Again, I told you it's a trial. That it is based on racial prejudice. Yes, it is based on racial prejudice towards Japanese Americans, something that we were just trying to figure out. Yeah. So, author's opinion of military judgment is used to justify the evacuation of Japanese Americans. The correct answer is all of the above, since it is not based on evidence, it is not based on expert knowledge, it is based on racial prejudice. So, option 4, that is all of the above, is the correct answer for us. All right, now we look at question number 24. Again, we have the same passage. Based on the same passage, we have a different question this time. Let's read the question. Again, in quote unquote, a large, unassimilated, tightly knit racial group bound to an enemy nation by strong ties of race, culture, custom, and religion indicates what? A refusal to be citizens, a refusal to think of Japanese as US citizens, a refusal to be citizens, option 1, of course, they were Japanese citizens already. A refusal to think of Japanese as US citizens, yes, this we may want to consider. A refusal to accept the US as home, no. Prejudice on part of Japanese, yes, this was there, but indicates what? When we look at this line, a large, unassimilated, tightly knit racial group bound to an enemy nation. Here, the enemy nation is Japan itself. So, tightly knit racial group refers to Japanese or the American Japanese. Japanese living in America. So, option number 2, a refusal to think of Japanese as US citizens. Read this phrase, tightly knit racial group. So, here they are trying to talk about Japanese and Japanese living in America. So, Japanese as US citizens is the right answer. Then we look at question number 25. See, again, these are very easy questions if you practice them regularly, follow them logically, read them properly, right? The idea is to figure out important elements from the passages. If you're able to do that, then of course you'll be able to figure out your correct answers. We have previously solved DUs and GNUs, a lot of passage based question papers. All the video links are provided in the description box given below. So probably you may want to check out those videos in order to understand how to go about solving passage-based questions. Okay, now coming back to question number 25. Again, like I said, the passage remains the same. Let's read the question here. It says the passage refers to the internment of Japanese during World War II, internment of Japanese during World War One, internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, or internment of Japanese Americans during World War One. Okay, like I just explained to you in the beginning, that this passage describes a time when America fought World War II to preserve its democracy. And this very war, the very nature of war, suppressed the civil liberties of many communities. So I already gave you that background. So the correct answer here is internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. That is option number 3, right? Now, let's look at our next question. Again, it's the same passage here, and we have a different question this time. It says, an entire group being treated with suspicion for the actions of a few individuals is an example of what? Xenophobia, othering, race baiting, or all of the above. What is xenophobia? First of all, option 1, if we look at it, it's a kind of prejudice against other set of communities. Prejudice against other set of communities is called xenophobia. So that is already there because we see Japanese Americans facing that in United States. So xenophobia is already there. Okay. Then we look at option 2, othering. Now, othering is a kind of technique where you start treating other set of communities as inferior to yourself or inferior to your community. Okay, so othering is also there because this is what we realize Japanese Americans have been facing living in America, right? Treated as inferior communities. So othering is also there. And then we look at option 3, which is called race baiting. Now, what is race baiting? It again sort of refers to verbal attacks against other set of communities or other set of groups. So that is also there. This is why we see this entire trial. Okay. And then option 4 is all of the above. So like I said, xenophobia is already there, othering is also there, and race baiting is also there. So our correct option is, our correct answer is option number 4, that is all of the above.